Come to Remora TC to trade like a shark and not get eaten by one. Let's school together to protect and grow our money. Here's Microsoft's weekly chart. I'm going to use my iPad pencil to circle this big sell candle here and the subsequent flagging pattern. So I think the next move is downward. Let's take a look at my prediction on the 29th. At the time, I stated that there was overhead resistance here. There's three areas, and that support was at the 406 level. It was uncertain to me if it would make a big move, but there is overhead resistance here. Okay. Fast forward to today. This is March 4th. You can see that price has remained underneath this resistance area, and you can also see that the volume is decreasing. With that, my thesis remains unchanged. I think the overhead resistance remains there. The next likely bigger move would be to test support here. I think prices ultimately would go further down. Switching to gold miners, ETF, you can see on the weekly chart here, this big gap up, and the price moved up quite a bit. All right. Switching to my prediction on the 29th, that there would be support down here along the purple trend line, ultimately with price going upward, breaking through the 2666 zone. I had stated back here that we would wait for an entry to allow price to come back down and retest this purple support. All right, let's see how we did. Fast forward to March 4th, that's today. You could see I made some annotations there that, I told folks this would be a positive, objective, long entry. I took it myself, and indeed, it's gone well. So in a matter of days, it's gone up 10%, going through this gap zone, through this gap zone here. And let me zoom in here for us. Okay, so this gap here, it busted through it, and now it's at resistance. Tonight, at the close of the market, I closed out my position here. So I took my money off the table. So I took the 10% gain, took it off this table. I think price is going to bounce around here, find resistance up here and support down here. Let me zoom out so we can see the price points here. It'll bounce around. The key is we want to be careful with, if it breaks down underneath this, it created a new gap here. Okay, so it may come all the way down here. I didn't want to play that myself, so I took profit, got out here. I'm going to wait till it bounces around and then breaks through this resistance. Once it breaks through the resistance with a decent volume, then I'll wait to take a long. Okay, so we'll play it between the lines. That's my prediction for GDX. It's been a good trade. I hope you've been successful. If you have, please give me a comment. Let me know if you had joined in the trade. Switching to XOM Mobile, this is the weekly chart. You can see this rising wedge here. It's a bearish pattern, so we'll have to see how prices behave in the next week or so. On the 29th of February, you can see my annotations here. I talked about overhead resistance here at the gap, and the 200-day moving average would be resistance, and that price would come further down, ultimately retesting support here at around the 101, and I think it would break through and continue downward. So let's see how I did. That's today. You can see yesterday's price action. Price gapped all the way up, ended the day at the 200-day moving average. Okay, there's the 200-day, which was also at the top of the gap fill. So my annotations remain the same. You can see that today's action was a big sell signal, big red candle going down. It got rejected up here as I had predicted. And in fact, it continued down further below this is the 104.71. My thesis is they'll probably bounce it around up here, probably retesting the gap, ultimately to fail, and with further prices going downward. ExxonMobil to me looks bearish. I mean, look at all of this bearish divergence, right? They gapped it up and gave it a new short-term high here, but with a lower RSI. So I extended this red line here to highlight that bearishness. So likely lower prices. Looking at Bitcoin here, weekly chart, You can see this long red line that I've drawn on the screen. That's about 62,500. And I felt that that would be resistance for Bitcoin, but you can see right here that price has pushed through with some force. My 29 February prediction was resistance at 62,500. This is a messy chart. I apologize for that. But you can see here on Monday, 4 March, that's today, price did bounce around here. It consolidated, and then it just rocketed through. It rocketed through with, you can see here, some bearish divergence. Okay, so likely, I think what will happen in the next few days is that the price action would consolidate in a perhaps a rising wedge pattern, and then fail and use this as support. Okay, so price will come down, hit 62,500 again, and continue upward. If it hasn't already gone all the way to 69,000 to retest all-time highs. Right now, I wouldn't chase Bitcoin if I were you. It's testing all-time highs, and maybe wait until it comes back down to this zone as support before you take a loss. That's Bitcoin. As always, remember that my content is for educational purposes only. It's not investment advice. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And when you subscribe, please do hit the bell icon